In today's video, I want to show you how you can get started with ClickUp. ClickUp is a project management system which I have recently changed to from Asana. If you want to know the differences between them and what made me change, check out my previous video, which I'm going to link in the description and up here with all the details on that. So I just love to set up my business in the way that there's as little information as possible in my head, and it's all somewhere in a system that keeps track of everything, that reminds me of everything. So literally I can free up space in my head for other things. And the more I can do that and automate things, the better. So if you want to have a go at ClickUp and check it out, there's a link in the description below. You can get started for free and just have a look around.
Okay, so here we are in ClickUp, and this might look slightly different for you depending on how you've got the settings. There are a couple of different options. This is kind of the most minimal way of doing this, which once you work with this a little bit, probably you'd want to minimize this as well because it just gives you more room in here. But let's just expand this so that you can see a bit better. So as we talked about the hierarchy, this is all one workspace. So this is all obviously my business workspace. You can have other ones here if you have other businesses, but this is kind of the business's workspace, and then everything falls under that. We've got here the spaces, so most likely the departments in your business. So as you can see, I've got a couple here, and you can easily add another space in here. So the ones with the lock are private spaces, so only visible for certain people in the organization, which in this case, this is just my personal stuff. And then you can set the permissions per space as you want to. And then within the space, if you click on it and expand this sidebar here, you can see the folders. So for example, in marketing, I've got a content folder, which then holds a list for YouTube and a list for email marketing at this stage. And then one of the big things about ClickUp is that you can view everything on every level. So if you click everything here, it's literally going to show you, and let's start with the list view. It'll show you just everything that is in the business. So that's not necessarily helpful all the time, but you have different views here. So for example, the calendar might be quite helpful for everything because it essentially shows you everything that has a date in your business and what is going on. So if you have certain weeks that, you're on holiday or there's a launch or something certain happening, you can see all of that in this overarching calendar. And then you can obviously go down the level. So if you go to marketing, it'll just show you everything that is in marketing. And again, you have the different views here. So you've got the list view, you've got a board view, which is more like a Trello board, and you've got calendar view, and then you've got a lot of other options for views as well, but these are kind of the main ones. And then you can drill it down to just whatever is in content. Or so for example, you want to see your whole marketing calendar, but then you just want to see what's in the content, and you just kind of drill down, or you just want to see your YouTube calendar here. So you can kind of go down the levels, which is quite practical. And so, on every level, you have these different view options. So because for different things, it could be better to have a list, could be better to have a calendar view or a board, or you might want to switch in between them. So you can also set your favorite one and pin it or favorite. So basically that structure sits under every space, and you can create folders and lists wherever you want. For example, I've got my personal to-do list here, which is pretty much empty because I've only just started setting this up. So this is the list view. If we just go through here, on your list, then you have tasks, which you give a name, you assign them to a person, you can give them a due date, priority. There's a whole bunch of other information that you can attach to this. So add some other fields and columns in here. So you have a due date, you also have a start date, but you can also create custom fields, which for example I've done here, like a live category. And also I could group this by that field. So there's a huge amount of options. So now you can see it's changed it to health. So if I had different tasks here, if you want to create a new task, obviously you just go here, and maybe this is, I don't even know what fields I've got here. Let's have a look. So maybe this is home, and we call it, this is home, and we're going to call it buy a new fridge or whatever, and it will group it by these categories. Or you can anytime change it by priority, assignee. So if you had other people in your business, or the status, which is, you know, either you've done it or not yet, which obviously you can customize the statuses as well. They basically get inherited as well. So ideally you'd set them at the level of this space, and then they will be inherited per folder and list and so on, unless you change it at a certain level. But it is quite helpful when you start, I find, to even just draw it up on a piece of paper, what spaces you're going to have, what folders and what lists, and then even write down what kind of statuses you would want to have, because it can get a bit messy if you kind of just do it on the go. So I would definitely recommend to have a think about that before you even start setting this up in ClickUp. Okay, so let's create another space just so that you can see how that looks like. So you just click add space here. Let's call this operations, for example. And also you have a whole bunch of templates here for every type of thing that you might want to create. And you can use these, or you can start from scratch on an empty one. And you can give this a color and an avatar. I'm just going to leave this for now. And this is where you choose whether this is shared with all workspace members or it is private. So private means that you choose the people. So it'll be you, and then you can also add other people if it's only certain people that should see this space. And then it asks you which statuses you want. So either you can choose from these templates here, from your own templates. You can just go with custom, or create a new template, whatever you need for this space that you're creating. And then for every space, you can decide which Click apps you want to be using. So depending on what that space is for, you might want to have different ones, or you might want to use different ones. So for example, custom fields, I would almost always use that one, but you might not need the time tracking for everything, or time estimates. Multiple assignees, if that doesn't apply to that space. There's a whole bunch more here. And the next thing is the default settings for views. So you always have a list view, and then you can choose whatever else you want to have. So for, depending again on your space, your timeline could be good, or a mind map, calendar view, depending on what it is. I like to take that one. You can also change this later, obviously. And then you just review whether this is all what you want and create the space. And here we go. Now we've got our operations workspace with just an empty list in there at the moment. And then we could create a couple of folders and lists under there, and build this out how we need this. This is essentially the hierarchy and how you build out your lists and where you put your tasks. One thing I wanted to say about this view, so how this looks like, you can change this if you click on the bottom here and go to layout, size and style. You can change how this looks like. So you can also change this to dark if you prefer that. You can change the size and the style. You might not need everything in your daily work. So what I like to do is to just the things that I basically go to every day, put them under favorites. So if you just click on these dots here, you can just click favorite and it'll move them to this section here. So that just makes it a bit easier every day you don't have to go through this, and you can just easily click on this. It'll straight away take you to that certain task list. So if we then go further into the task level, so this might be easiest to show with my YouTube list here. So this is obviously a list. However, especially for YouTube, I like to have this board view because all of these cards are video, and once I have a thumbnail, I'll add that in, and then it looks nice like this, and it just helps me to kind of keep the overview of where things are at. So you can create template tasks. However, at this stage, I like to have a template task here, which then I'll just go and duplicate whenever I create a new video. And then in there, you have your title, and I have my video description, which I have already kind of like a framework in here, which then I just fill in when I script a new video. I've got a custom field in here, which is the month that this video is for. So these are the subtasks that need to happen, which are subtasks because I might want to add actually a date of when this is going to happen. So for example, that is today. And then I can tick these off as well, or assign them to somebody else. Whereas the checklist is more, you can't go in there. So these ones, you could add some more information in the one. So editing, you could add some more information if you had somebody editing your videos. Whereas the checklist items, you can't put anything in there. This literally just to tick off. So I use that for my upload, where basically it's just a reminder of the things that I have to do, and I can tick them off and I know that everything's been done. You can add attachments here, where I usually just add my thumbnail. And once I'm done with the editing stage, I could move it to the next stage in here, or I can set it to closed when it's done. Also, you can obviously comment here and leave comments for other team members, mention people, assign even comments and all that sort of stuff. So this is kind of the pipeline as to how the tasks for the videos are going to be going ahead. I can also look at the calendar if I wanted to see. This is basically all the due dates, which is when the videos go live, and then the color shows me which stage they are at. So ideally, obviously, today is this day, so I want to see these in green pretty soon so that I know that they are done. So then for your daily kind of work, you've got obviously your favorites here, but usually you just check your home in here where everything comes up in my work, which is due today. So you'll see all the tasks coming up here. What is due today, anything that is overdue coming up next, and so on. And also you have your agenda in here. You could also have this as a calendar view, but I kind of prefer to keep this sort of separate from my calendar, otherwise it just gets too full in here. So I just like the agenda. And also what I really like about this is that you can see your done list. So at the end of the day, it's quite nice to look at this and see what all the things that you've actually gotten done that day, because sometimes we can forget how much work we've actually been doing all day. So this is just a nice way to look at it. Also, you're going to get all sorts of notifications, and here if you work with other people, I have turned off pretty much everything for myself because it's just me, so I know what happened. And then another thing that I really, really like about ClickUp is that you have this docs option here, which is really, really nice to create standard operating procedures. So basically document everything, not everything, but document the main things that you're doing. So for example, editing a YouTube video, or even because if you've watched some of my other videos, I started with Asana. So when I first started doing YouTube, I basically created this example task for myself with all these subtasks of all the things that need to happen to create a YouTube video. And then I went and researched all the things of what needs to be done. And then I created these subtasks, and in there I would have a little description of what was important for that task, like how the thumbnail should be, what's important about the thumbnail, and all that stuff, which now sits in these subtasks, which is not ideal because it will be, if I ever wanted to change this, it sits in all of these videos. So basically I can never change this anymore. But what is actually so much better and what you can do is just to create this document and link it in the task. So that means if I click on it and if I change this, which is currently empty, it is the same, it's just a link. So the document, if I change it from here or even in the documents folder, so if the process changes one day and I just want to add something or edit, I can do that in here and it's going to change it in all the tasks. And also you're going to end up with this library of procedures here, which, you know, if you ever employ somebody or you get a team member or you outsource something, you have everything already here and you don't need to start writing these things then when you already need somebody. So I'm trying to write these as I go, so keep these up to date, even just for myself. Like, you know, sometimes we forget things as well, and I need to, things that we don't do all the time, I might need to look it up again, like how did I do this again, or how's this work. So I just love this functionality in here, and it is so nicely attached in the task. So yeah, one of the big things of ClickUp are obviously the different views and the different levels of where you can view things, but you also can create your own dashboards, which is essentially like a reporting dashboard. So for example, they have a whole lot of widgets in here that you can add in. Most of them though come with the other, not with the free plan, but some of them you can also use under the free plan. So you can see like how many videos do I have in filming, how many in editing, and so on. So yeah, obviously if it's just you in your business, you might not need this, but this is just to show what is possible. Okay, so the last thing that I want to show you, which is really, really amazing, is the automation. So let's say you have a video editor who is editing your YouTube videos, which would be amazing, which I don't have, but if let's say you've got that. So whenever you've finished filming a video, you want to let them know that there is a video ready for them to edit, and you want to do that automatically. So then what you would do is just set up an automation. So you could say when the status changes from filming to editing, you want to assign this to your video editor if you have them in your ClickUp. If you don't have them in there, you'd also connect your email and you could send them an email. And so as you can see, there's a lot of options and things that you can do. You could automatically obviously change the person that is assigned. You can change statuses. You can create things. So you could say, hey, if this task is finished, create a new task for this and that. You can also connect this to your calendar with Calendly, for example. So when there is an event created, create a task for yourself. So for example, somebody has booked a call with you and you need to do preparation for that call, you can just automatically get yourself a task created, so you don't have to do that manually. There's a whole lot of options of what you can do there, and it's really, really amazing. It can take a lot of work, manual work off your hands. So this is just a quick overview and introduction into ClickUp. If you want to learn more about it, I can recommend if you go to the ClickUp website, there are a lot of on-demand demos, so you can basically go through whatever experience level you're at and learn a whole lot of more things here. And yeah, they have some really cool videos and examples where you can see more of what you can do with ClickUp. And when I first started, I literally just spent half a day going through all of these videos, so I understood how the whole thing works, and then created my own plan of building all the spaces and folders and lists that I needed. And yeah, I can only recommend to do that, because it is really helpful if you do that actually even on a piece of paper before you get into the program.
Now, if you're keen to give ClickUp a go, sign up through the referral link in the description and leave me a comment. What is the first thing that you're going to set up? The first thing that I set up in ClickUp was my content creation process, especially my YouTube videos, because that's basically the main thing that I do at the moment. And there's so much that goes into the process of creating videos. So I just wanted to have all of that in there. If you want to have a detailed video of that process, let me know in the comments as well. I'm happy to make a video about that more in detail and share the template with you if that helps, if you're creating YouTube videos as well. I'm going to be working on implementing my other content calendars for Instagram and TikTok in the future. And I'm also still working on implementing all of my other processes in there. So I'm going to keep you updated as I go along. Now have an amazing day, and I'll see you soon.